Teotihuacan weekend experiment with your family. When you've come home from work on a Friday evening, turn off your main circuit breaker, turn off your gas main or propane tank, shut your water valve or turn off your well pump. Spend that weekend in primitive conditions. Practice using only your food storage, preparing it on a wood stove or camping stove. A Teotihuacan weekend experiment will surprise you. Things that you take for granted will suddenly become labor intensive. False assumptions will be shattered. Your family will grow closer and more confident. Most importantly, some of the most thorough lists that you will ever make will be the ones written by candlelight. This is very true. My wife and I, when we go camping, we have a notebook of things that, shoot, we forgot. That means next time we need to have, in our camping stuff, we need to have one of these. Or also, what we do is we have 3 of those, or we haven't used it in 5, 6, 8 years. We only need 2. Let's get rid of 1. So we do that almost every time we go camping. We keep a list of things that will go on. In my family, starting when my children were very young, we used to have what we called low voltage evenings, similar to his kind of disaster weekend, the end of the world as we know it weekend, in where I would come home on a Friday night, or we do this sometimes for family home evening, and I would just say, okay, we're going to have a low voltage evening. I would literally turn the circuit breakers off, with the exception of the one for the refrigerator, because I don't like falling out food. And then we would go that night, and maybe a little longer, and have nothing. We would cook use our coal stove to cook, or the barbecue outside, and then we would have oil lamps, and we would play games with the kids. And we did that, and partially to, I wanted my kids to, if there was something were to go wrong, for them to think it was fun. Now when the power goes out, I am not kidding you, the power goes out, and they are upset if they miss it. My oldest daughter, we had the power go out in our apartment, our block for about 3 hours the other day, and she was at work. When she came back home, the power was back on. Her alarm clock was flashing 12. And she said, "Why is the power?" She said, "Oh, the power went out." She goes, "Oh, and I missed it?" So it had its desired effect. And so as doing that over the time, as with our family, we became kind of aware of what he's talking about in here. And so what we're going to do is, what I suggest that you do, is start making a list of lists. And in his suggestion, and you can add to these or detract based on needs or desires, it's a water list, a food storage list, a personal list, a first aid kit list. Doesn't that sound like the lessons I've taught so far? Yeah. Okay. Hygiene and sanitation lists, hunting, fishing, trapping. How much hunting, trapping, and fishing we're going to do here in Southern California, but on your own. But like, as he says, it's really important to know these types of things, because we say, oh, I don't really need to hunt or fish because I live here. What am I going to hunt or fish? Well, what if you were deciding and your family decided, you know what, it's bad, we got to go. And you have family who lives in New Mexico or Arizona or Utah or something, and they say, you got to come. And you decide, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going. Well, if you don't have some basic understanding of that kind of thing, and you get to wherever you're going, that might be a necessity of something you might need to know wherever you might go. Because I guarantee you, if the power goes out and there's big problems here in Los Angeles, this area is not going to be sustainable. There is no food here. There is no water here. We live in a desert. It's not going to be able to support the population that lives here. And like I said earlier, there's 50,000 gang members running around this in LA County alone. I don't know to what extent we want to stay here. I'm not planning on leaving. I would love to, but I'm not planning on leaving. I'm planning on staying. Fuel lists, firefighting lists, tools lists. There's about 10 or 15 items on there that you need to start making a list. I want to cover a couple of them, and then we'll go to our 100 things that disappear first. The water list. It talks about having the ability to catch rainwater off of your roof. If you don't have something like that already set up in advance, and the water goes out, and you're going through your water, it's going to be more and more difficult to, okay, well, I'm going to put that in place, if something bad happens. Well, when something bad happens, you're probably going to be too busy doing lots of other things to think about doing that one, and now it's raining, and all that water you could have caught and done something with if you had some kind of plan in place in advance. And so these kind of things you want to get together. Remember, I was talking about this more of self-reliant, thinking about being self-reliant rather than emergency preparedness. Talks about having extra containers, having plenty of chlorine on hand. I have 3 gallons of bleach that I store just for water purification purposes and emergencies. Having a cart of some sort to transport your water. If we often think about, well, if something goes bad, I'll put a backpack on. That's great, but you're not going to be able to carry water very far. Water's heavy, weighs 8 pounds per gallon. And we're supposed to have a gallon per person per day. So if you're going to be gone for 3 days, is that 20? What's 3 times 8? 24? Yeah, that's 24 pounds of water, just right there. Then it has a food storage list, and his says he'll get back to it the next day. As I said, I didn't edit this, but a food storage list is something we all should be worried about. Food preparation list. If you don't have any non-electric can openers in your house, and there is no power, how are you planning on opening cans? With a knife? It's going to dull your knife pretty quick. Talks about having 5 or 6 gallon PVC buckets for food storage and preparation, hauling water. Personal list. Do you have medications? Do you take medications? Are you able to have those kind of medications? Are there herbal substitutes for the medications you take? Right now, almost every, in fact, that's one of the things that the internet is really good for, is that there are a lot of herbal substitutes for medicines we take. Not all of them, but there are a lot of alternatives. So if you take are required to take some kind of heart medicine, and I'm trying to think of what the name of the herb is, and the banner will show right here exactly what it is. But there's an herb plant that you can put and make a tea out of that will give you almost the exact same medicine and the same effects as Digitalis is one, but there's a heart thinning medicine my father takes, and I can't think what it is. Anyway, Coumadin. There is a herbal plant that has the same properties, similar properties, I should say. And so if you can't get Coumadin, and that's what your life relies on that, then I would figure out what that herb is and how to plant it, how to grow it, and how to keep it around, in case you can't get your blood pressure medicine or those kind of things that would your life. Another thing else is glasses. If you wear glasses and require glasses, I require them for reading, but if you require them for just general vision, you should have plenty of them around. First aid and minor surgery kit. If you have not taken a CPR and first aid class, you should take one, so you know how to do stuff. If you know how to do things, then you can necessarily not have to have the equipment, but the equipment is good. Also, having a minor surgical kit. I go back and forth. In fact, I have this argument with Brad Smith every time I open my first aid kit. I have sutures in my first aid kits, and he always laughs and says, "Well, do you know how to suture?" I say, "No, I don't." He says, "Then why do you have them?" I said, "Because if I find somebody who knows how to use them, I have them, and I can have him suture whatever, And I said, he says, "Well, that's just silly."